everybody, I am Laser Dude, and welcome back as we continue to rank every single Harry Potter movie after watching them for the very first time. And this time we looked into Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And this was an interesting one because for me, from what I could remember, this was my favorite of all the Harry Potter books when I read them. You know, this was the one that was like, you know, it was the first time it took things for a darker turn. The mystery and the reveal at the end was actually something I didn't see coming, but I thought was well foreshadowed. So I was really looking forward to seeing this movie and seeing how they handled everything. But I was worried about one thing, and that was the beginning of this film, because I knew that this film had a lot more setup in the beginning than all the other ones did, and I feels like I don't know how they're going to get to all of it. Well, short answer is they have this movie's beginning on fast forward, going over so many things so quickly, and they skipped over entire sequences, which I knew they had to do. Like, I'm not blaming them. In fact, I think they should have cut out the World Cup entirely from the entire story, like Harry's involvement in it. Just have it something that happened off screen. I mean, I feel like it's just like so much stuff is like, okay, Harry's here, he's with the Weasleys, he's at the World Cup. For some reason, you know, they don't explain why it is. Obviously, they go into more detail in the book and stuff like that. But it's just like, then we don't even get to see the game. We see like the image of a leprechaun, and that's about it. And then the Death Eaters show up, and we don't even go into the details of obviously they cut this out for a reason, but like at first everyone suspects Harry because it was his wand that cast the mark, which I kind of was glad they got rid of because that went nowhere in the book, actually, now that I think about it. There is a few things, like here's the things, like the first big change right off the bat that they did, which I'm not happy with, okay? And of course this is spoiler warning just because, you know, you're watching somebody rank all the Harry Potter movies. You should know these things by now. But in the book, one thing that I liked was, like, we learned about Barty Crouch and Barty Crouch Jr. and how he sentenced his son. But in the book, we see, like, Barty Crouch Jr. is like, I didn't do anything, Father. You have to believe me. I wouldn't have done anything like this. And it's like, oh my gosh, this guy is so cold-hearted. He sent his son, who he wasn't even sure did it, to the Azkaban. Like, how terrible, and what a terrible, terrible fate. And I was just like, yeah, I like that. I really like that, because books and stories know that if something happens, we almost assume the opposite must have happened. So if somebody goes to jail in a story and they claim that they're innocent, from a story goes, we kind of assume that they're right, that they are innocent. And so we kind of almost, you know, side with the son, even though that we don't even know anything other than he just claims to be innocent. Now this, right from the gun, we see David Tennant. And we're like, oh, so he's Barty. Well, I knew he was going to be Barty Crouch. But it's just like, if you didn't know who he was, if you, let's say, were watching this with clean eyes and you didn't know who anything is, you're like, okay, he's a person working with Voldemort, he's a bad guy. And you find out he's Barty Crouch's son. Well, you barely even know who Barty Crouch is in this film, so it's barely even, like, he has like 1 or 2 scenes, and that's about it. And that's not great. Like, I know obviously you can't shove him in there more without like making it extremely obvious or anything, but it's like, I didn't like that we knew the son was guilty, and especially like, and there's certain things that they do differently in this. I really like the idea, like how we subtly set up how, you know, like Barty Crouch Jr. is being moody, how that is handled in ways that are subtlety, because like they don't reintroduce Dobby back into the film in this, and this is where he came back in the book. And so in the book, Dobby gives him the gillyweed, and you find later that it was Barty Crouch posing as Moody that did it. But I actually like how they set it up here. You know, they're having a moment where Neville is not really happy after he goes over the curses, and he takes him aside and he's like, "You have an interest in herbology. Well, here's a book on aquatic fauna." Jeez, I can't think of the word. And so that's how they find out about the gillyweed, because he basically spelled it out for him. And I like that subtle touch where it's like, Dobby coming up with Gillyweed kind of came out of nowhere and was a little bit more suspicious. But here, it's, well, like Neville knows all about these sort of things and plants and stuff. And so the fact that he knows about Gillyweed doesn't seem that suspicious, but then you hear the scene where he gives it to him. And I really like that scene as well on reflection, because it means like Moody, who was really Barty Crouch Jr., was comforting the son of the parents who he made insane with his Crucio spells. That was really, really good. I like that. I also like, let me just say, I like the actor who's playing Moody / Barty Crouch's polyjuiced version of Moody. I think that like his scenes are really well done, and was the reason why Moody was one of my favorite characters in the book. Like, I like that sort of same sort of style, and I like that everything that he does, you could just perceive of him helping Harry, but he's actually helping Harry win the tournament, which will lead him right into the big trap. Now, I do believe that this film does have a few side tangents that they probably didn't need to go. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you have to still stay true to the source material. But like for example, Harry and Ron being at odds with each other, that one didn't feel as, like, I didn't like it in the book either, but I at least understood it in the book more, because Ron was going on and on about how he wanted to be part of the tournament, and then Harry's in, he's like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And he's like, I didn't, and he's like, yeah, good one, why didn't you tell me? And so it's kind of more earned, where like Ron has like one line where it's like in here where he's like, yeah, that'd be fun, that's about it. I do like that the twins get a lot more to do in here. That's pretty good. Crumb, I did not like the choice for actor for Victor Crumb. I think Robert Pattinson and Cedric Diggory really, really works. I think that's a pretty good choice. I like that. But I feel like Crumb is just like, he looks too generic. Like, I can never pick his face out of the crowd of all the Durmstrang students. He all looks the same to me. And I feel like they needed somebody with, like, I was thinking about it, like, I imagine him more of a pretty boy, but I don't think that's actually who his character is. He's still, like, the strong, silent type. So maybe a handsome man, but, a little bit more, less, like, stoic looking like he was in here would have gone a long way. The challenges are pretty good. I like the underwater one. I think that's done pretty good. I like the dragon looked actually pretty good. I like the CGI. Although the scene with it went on too long. Like him breaking loose, Harry flying around and getting chased by it. I'm pretty sure that's not how it went down in the book. I'm pretty sure once Harry got the firebolt, it was pretty quick work to just grab the egg and get out of there. The scene with the dragon went on a little bit too long. It looked like you were trying to make this into an action flick, but it's just like, it just makes the teachers look really incompetent. Like, oh, the dragon's got loose. Hope Harry figures his way out of this one. When the dragon's loose and could kill anybody, you think they'd be on it and try to stop it, but no. And look, I don't want to go too much on like the whole, this is different from the book, this is too much similar to the book and stuff like that. But there were a lot of things that I did like and a lot of things I thought that was weird. Like, for example, I like the idea that Barty Crouch Jr. has a sort of facial tic that his father picks up on, and that's why he has to kill his father. I don't know if it was anything like that in the book. I think it was just like he wanted to kill his father, so he did. But I like that he has sort of facial tic. I don't like that the tic is basically... get it, snake, like... Nobody has a tic like, it just seems a little bit, like, on the nose and ridiculous. But if it was something like, it was like, ooh, so, I don't know, maybe that would have been done. But if it was something more subtle and less like, are you surprised that your son is a Death Eater when he's going like... Now... this is the first look that we really get of Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort. And I'm gotta say, like, so far, he's not as intimidating. Don't get me wrong, I actually really love the scene, and there's my favorite part of the book, too, where they just instantly kill Cedric Diggory. No, no big moment, no nothing, just like, who goes there? Avada Kedavra, boom, dead. Instantly killed. I like the way they handled it here. I like the way they handled it in the book. I think it's just good that, like, this is an evil wizard. He doesn't have time for your BS. I wish, like, when Harry gets put up with that, like, Reaper thing and he's being held, I feel like he can escape from there. There's enough space where, like, the thing's not holding him to the wall, where I feel like he can just be like, oh, I'm out of here. You know, it just doesn't feel like he's really confined to it as well as it should be. But, I mean, I like Ralph Fiennes so far as Voldemort. It's, you know what's funny? Everyone always says how he has no nose, but he actually does. He just has, like, a snake nose, or, like, 2 slits. I think that it'll be interesting to see his character performance going forward, just because I don't really find him necessarily intimidating, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, kids did, you know, the scene where he, like, comes back, that is actually really pretty twisted, like, the way that he looks and the way he, like, reforms into himself. That's pretty good. Let's get into the accolades that I have for this. So, for best moment of the film, the best scene in the movie, I decided to have the best scene in the movie be when Harry returns after escaping from Voldemort. I think this is where the acting is probably the best it's been in the entire series, the most impactful. He comes back, everyone's cheering, oh, you did it, hey, Harry, hooray, hooray. And Harry is crying. He is filled with grief as a friend of his has just been killed. He's nearly been killed himself. The evil lord of everything has come back, and, like, it's one of those things where he's, like, absolutely distraught, and, like, people are around him and he's like, get away from him, like, yelling at everyone to stay away from Cedric Diggory. And then you have his father come on down, like, my son. It's like, oh, like, that emotionally hits you right there. That the scene where he comes back, it's everything goes, like, really serious, really fast. I really, really like. I would almost include the scene where he's taken away by, you know, Barty Crouch Jr. disguised as Moody, and then he reveals himself to him. But I feel like it's different in the book. Like, in the book, I feel like he's allowing himself to turn back into Barty Crouch Jr., where here I feel like he's looking for Polyjuice Potion and trying to stay in disguise. But, like, I feel like in the book he was like, I'm just going to kill you and get out of here and return to my Dark Lord, which I felt like played better, where here there's just too much running around. I feel like the scene just drags on a little bit too long. But I do like the reveal. I just think that the emotions and everything when Harry returns, that is just absolutely the best scene and probably the best acting that we've seen so far. Now, for the worst scene in the movie, I just have the super rushed beginning. Every single one of these movies have rushed through the beginning part, and sometimes understandably so, but this part was like so, like, there was no time for setup or anything, or, like, it was just like, we're at the World Cup, we're in a tent that's bigger on the inside than the outside. Oh, wait, ironic that this is David Tennant's Doctor Who movie. And anyway, and then we, you know, it's like, and then we just go into everything, and then Death Eaters are shooting at everything, which I don't recall them being, like, this violent when they, like, I thought they just put the dark mark in the sky and they showed up, they were walking around, and I don't recall them, like, shooting at everything. But actually, I don't mind. And that actually was, like, you know, like, it increases the stakes a little bit. Yeah, but the beginning is just super rushed, and so I'm going to say just the beginning itself, worst scene. Because, yeah, it's just too much going on and too much stuff they're going to cram in there. For my favorite performance of the film, there was a few that I had to take some time to consider. Rupert Grint was out of it just because Ron does not have a lot to do in this movie. He is probably the least to do. I considered Emma Watson as Hermione just because there was a lot of really good emotional moments with her. Like, there was a moment where she comes up to Harry in the tent and she's worried because Harry's going to have to face off against a dragon. And so when that moment happens, like, she's like, you'll do this, you got this. But, like, there's a lot of scared energy that she gives, and then when he does win, her rejoicing seems so genuine. When she's having fun of the dance, she seems really well. But there wasn't really a lot of meat for her to chew on. I think the stuff that she does in the movie is fine, but I don't really think there's anything that she did that really stole the show in any way, shape, or form. Oh, the Rita Skeeter thing, probably, she should have been out. Like, if you're not going to do the thing where Hermione extorts her and blackmails her, I mean, like, why even include her in the movie at all? I was thinking of Brendan Gleeson as Crouch and Moody. I thought that like his character was a really good version of the character, very strong portrayal. I really liked how they had him, just always sort of like, it's one of those things where he looks like he's always looking out for Harry or being like the tough teacher. Like when he performs the unforgivable curses in front of the class and everything, you think, oh, he's just being the tough teacher showing them what's out there. But really what he's doing is he's showing off these curses to children who might be curious enough to try it for themselves, and then that might lead them more to Voldemort's side. It's one of those things you don't really think about it that way, but yeah, he's doing both. He's not just... That is part of his goal, I would say. But in the end, I actually decided to give this one to Daniel Radcliffe. I think this is Daniel Radcliffe's strongest performance as Harry Potter. And it's interesting, because if you saw me in the first one, I was a little hesitant about him. Second one, he improved, but he still had some things that was like hanky-janky. Like when he was looking at Dobby, it was always like, all right, look up. You could tell that he was just following directions. But this one, I felt like not only was the scenes that he portrayed done very well, I think this had the most meat that he had to chew on, and his character was consistent throughout the story, and like the scene where he's come back and he's just like, he's an emotional wreck out of everything he just went through. I think it's just really, really good. I think that the emotional turmoil of like having been chosen for the Goblet of Fire and not wanting to be part of this, but also not wanting to let anybody down, I think that's very strong for Harry's performance of the character overall. I think that I'm going to say Daniel Radcliffe's the best acting performance of the film. And I'm glad that he got to, I haven't seen the other ones. I'm glad he got to be at least once, because it'd be weird if you're just like, yeah, Harry Potter, that actor was never the best actor in any of the movies. I can honestly say I think his acting in this movie is the best overall out of all the characters. He's fun when he needs to be fun, he's like sad when he needs to be sad, angry when he needs to be angry, in all the right spots. And I like how frustrated he gets at different scenes, I think that was how frustrated he really gets with some of the characters. I think it's just a lot building on top of him overall, and I think that that's really good and realistic. For the moment that I think felt most magical, I actually had a hard time with this one, because, there wasn't, the dragon scene was nice, but it went on too long. The underwater scene was actually pretty cool, and I was really considering that one. But I think when it comes down to it, even though it's not a nice magical moment, I think Voldemort's return to human flesh, or wizard flesh, whatever you want to call it, his reforming of himself was the moment that felt like the biggest, holy shoot. And I think it was handled very well. I think Ralph Fiennes was... I still don't know what to make of him as a villain. I'm not necessarily intimidated by him yet, but his character will have time to get there, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes with that. And I think that's all I really have to say. Oh wait, no, there was one more thing I wanted to say. Right, this is a moment where this was actually my favorite out of the Harry Potter books. I think this was also the moment where it was starting to lose me a little bit at some points, because there's no reason, literally no reason, why the Ministry of Magic shouldn't have believed Harry. No reason at all. It's like Harry himself either killed Cedric Diggory or is telling the truth. That should be the only two options. And if you don't believe Harry killed him, you should believe that Voldemort is back. Why would this kid lie? And I feel like that is just one of the things where it's just there's no reason for him to lie. Somebody was killed, and the last thing anybody would do when when somebody is killed is, oh, this is a chance for more popularity. When he's Harry flippin' Potter, already the most famous wizard kid of all time. So it's one of those things where I just really really didn't get it or appreciate it. It's just like, okay, yeah, the Ministry is just going to be dumb for a whole movie until they figure it out. Here's the thing. When I was thinking about where to put this in the ranking, it was between 1 and 2 for me. So, Philosopher's Stone is moved down to number 4. I think I put the Prisoner of Azkaban is going to be number 3. And so it's between Chamber of Secrets and the Goblet of Fire. And even though I feel like I had less complaints about Chamber of Secrets, I think that's because that was a movie of a book that I didn't really care for too much for the book, and then the movie impressed me more, where Goblet of Fire is my favorite book, but some of the stuff and changes that they did disappointed me. But I'm going to put Goblet of Fire overall at number 1, just because I feel like the story itself, since they're starting to move into more serious and stuff, it has more to work with. There's more meat on these bones. Even though there was stuff that I just felt were just like absolutely mind-blowing about, Chamber of Secrets. I still feel like Chamber of Secrets was playing it still a little with the kitty gloves on. I think now the gloves are off. We're in the serious part of the world. The Dark Lord has returned, and I still like, even though I don't think it's handled as well as the book, I still like the reveal of Moody being Barty Crouch Jr. with Polyjuice Potion. I think that the mystery, the way they set it up this time, is a little bit more obvious. Like the last time, there was a few things that gave away that somebody was using Polyjuice Potion, where this one, I think they hit it on the nose a couple of times too many. But I still think it's a good mystery. I still think the reveal is good. But yeah, I think that I'm going to be putting Goblet of Fire as the new number 1 moving forward, and we'll see how that carries on. I think for best scene, I'm going to be putting The Return. This is the thing. This is the practical effects versus the best acting in the movies. And I think I'm going to put the acting first. Yeah. I think The Return, when they returned back and just the emotions that were going on with Harry and the other characters, I think that is really good. I think that just everything that was happening in that moment, the acting is just top notch, and so I'm going to put it over the Spider, and Spider moves down to number 2, and so on and so forth. For worst scene in the movie, I'm going to be putting the super rush beginning at number 3. I think that No, you dropped your wand. No, you dropped your wand. And Prisoner of Azkaban isn't as bad as the beginning, how rushed it is. Once the games begin, once that sort of thing starts happening, it slows down, mellows down at a good pace. But the beginning is such breakneck stuff. But it's not as embarrassingly bad as the Centaur was, and I don't think it's as bad as the crypticness of the power of loyalty, that's just I still think that's just bad writing in that part. For favorite performance, I'm going to be putting Daniel Radcliffe's as Harry Potter, putting it at number 2 below Hermione Granger's performance in the first one. I still think that Emma Watson just knocked the character out of the park when she was so young. And I don't know if anybody else will top her very first performance in this. We'll have to wait and see. There's still a few more movies to go through, but I think that while Gary Oldman's stuff that he went through in the last film was really, really good, and I liked the way how emotionally invested I was in this, I feel like we just have more time with Daniel Radcliffe's Harry Potter in here, and we have a lot more time to go through all the emotions that he's feeling over the course of this journey, rather than just a couple of scenes. And as for the most magical moment, I'm going to be putting The Return of Voldemort at number 4. While I still think it's a really good moment and a really impactful moment overall, I think the other ones are just bigger or have had more of an impact on the franchise. So, yeah, that's my feelings of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. We're going over next to Order of the Phoenix, and we'll have to see how that all turns out. Oh, one last thing I wanted to talk about. I'm going to say something controversial. Because I didn't know too much about, things going into this one. One thing that I did know is a lot of people were really on about Michael Gambon's performance of Dumbledore versus the other actor who played him. And I gotta say, I think I like Michael Gambon's performance as Dumbledore better. And you might be like, whoa, that's blasphemous or whatever. I don't care. I think he's better. And you're like, yeah, but didn't you see the scene in here where he's like, yeah, I saw it. It was over the top, absolutely. But you know what I didn't see from the other Dumbledore that I do see in this one? That dark side that was just beneath the surface. Dumbledore as a character was somebody who was super heartfelt and embracing and whatnot, but you could also tell there was something that he was hiding, that he wasn't fully letting on, and the more you find out about it, the more I feel like if that actor was to continue to play Dumbledore, it just wouldn't feel like it was real. You would just feel like they were lying. Like this Dumbledore, while he does feel like he has that nice little wink of the eye and grandfatherliness, I also still feel a little bit of that darkness and that the capability of doing that beneath his character. And so, yeah, I actually think Michael Gambon is the better Dumbledore. And that's just my personal opinion. You can rake me over the coals in the comments about it, but that's all I gotta say, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.